I get happy when you're here. I get happy just by the environment and the energy. And I was thinking about the pray, and I was thinking about that this morning when I was doing my spiritual practice at home, is that sometimes I notice I don't always go into formal spiritual prayer. Now, I've been trained. I've been trained for 15 years on how to do science, religious science, and pray, and the words. And if you go in the bathroom in there, there's 5 steps of treatment that are very simple. God, I am, thanks, and let go. And, you know, it's really easy. But what I realize is that a lot of times I feel like I'm in the grace already. So it's just about remembering and tapping back into the grace. It's like being on the train. And you just move into the dining car. And everything is ready for you. It's all for you. And so today, you know, when we talk about seeing through God's eyes, one of the things that I'm going to be talking about, when you're seeing with through God's eyes, and she sang about that we are God's eyes. When we know that that power is within us, we know that when we pray, we don't pray from a petition. We don't pray from a victimhood. We pray from that we acknowledge we are one with God. And there is nothing withheld from us. So the true gift, I think, of the Christmas season for me is one of awareness. It's the lights. And you see lights all around you, and it's about turning on the light within you. It's about turning on the light within me. So that we become this energized. We become an energized bunny of God. I don't know where that came from. I am innocent. And what I realize is my talk's down here and I'm up here. So the energized bunny has to go down here. Thank you for your patience and all of that. I want to start with Swami Vivekananda, and if I said that right, who knows? You have to grow from the inside out. None can teach you, none can make you spiritual. There is no other teacher but your own soul. So many of us have this idea that we're not worthy or we're not enough to really know and to be the teacher. What I hope you get beyond is know that you are good enough. You are the greatest teacher of yourself. Nobody. I know that we come together and we listen, but it's not necessarily what I say or what anybody else says. Well, all that's going to turn on the light for you. What's going to turn on the light for you is your connection. You say, aha, I get it. There's a moment. There's something I can take within. There is that recognition of the power in, and your own soul, as he says. Your own soul is your best teacher. And you know about your own belief. I can tell you to stop, let go of fear, and that fear is nothing but forgetting everything's all right. I can tell you until the end of the day, and until you believe it, it won't happen. Until you absolutely embody the truth of that statement, it won't happen for you. There is nothing I can do. It's you. The power is within you. It is the God within you. So when we see with God's eyes, what we're doing is saying, look at the world outside of you differently, because you know the truth of what's inside of you. You know that there is a truth of God inside of you. And so you look at the world differently. And that's particularly important, I think, in this day, because what happens is the holiday season usually gets a little rushed. And sometimes people are a little more stressed. The lines are longer. The traffic's longer. And everything seems to take a little more time. And most of us have the mindset we have less time. So the two are in clash right away. We think we have to get so much more done. We have parties to go to. We have gifts to buy. We have people to see, cards to write, if anybody writes cards anymore. We have all of these things to do, and we think some of us procrastinate a little bit, and I speak of that of experience. And so we wait until we're at pressure to move forward and do something. And when we do, there's not enough time. But what I would like to invite you to do is look at life differently. And when you look at it through God's eyes, there is no time in God's eyes. So there's an abundance of time to do everything. There's an abundance of time to do that which is important. And that which is important will come up to your radar first. It will just show up as a big blip and say yes. And you get to say yes. You get to say yes, that which really feeds you and what really does it for you. Carl Jung said, this whole of creation is essentially subjective. And the dream is the theater where the dreamer is at once scene, actor, prompter, stage manager, audience, and critic. Do you get that? You know, if you really believe that life is a dream and that you get to really live it the way you want to make it happen. Somebody asked me last night, did I think I was a spiritual being or a human being? And what I really think is I am a spiritual being who chose to have a human existence. And therefore, it is not a lesson to be learned. It is not a school of hard knocks. But it is a movie that I am creating that I get to pick the scenes. I pick the actors in it. And if the actors that show up in it have a gift to give to me, a gift of awareness, a gift that maybe I have a shadow side within me that needs embracing. Because if we're whole, perfect, and complete, even the shadows are loved. And quite often what we try to do is push those things, those parts of us that we do not like, we try to push them back into the closet, away where they're now. Nobody else can see them. And sometimes what happens is, during this holiday season, where there's a little more stress put on our lives, those shadows come out. And they play in our lives at the most inopportune moments in our lives. There are some times when I'm not too ministerial. And I'm reminded that's a shadow side to be healed. So I can look at them as a gift. These are gifts. So welcome them in, because I came here to have this human experience, to be enriched and to have joy. If you ever get an email from me, you'll find that I use 3 words in all my emails. And I mean it every time. I say love, peace, and joy. Because that's what I believe I am here for. I'm here to receive love and give love, because I think it's reciprocal and it grows. I'm here for joy. I'm here to be happy. I'm here to spread joy and give it out. But I'm also here for peace. I'm here for inner peace here, and I'm here for peace in the world. And I believe if I hold peace inside of me, and I encourage you to hold peace inside of you, then the world is at peace. And that one heart, one thought gets moved all at the same time. Sometimes this saying that Don Miguel, those of you who know about his 4 agreements, will know this one, and I love this one because it goes into the movie playing, and it says, don't take anything personally. And there's a story in the Living Journal that reminded me quite often is what it basically says is we walk up sometimes and we think that people are saying something about us. And of course we don't think it's good. Why is that? We think it's negative. We think they're saying something negative about us, and guess what? It's an inside picture of ourselves. It is what we believe is in that closet that we don't want anybody. You know, sometimes I have people say, well, you looked at me that way. I have no idea how I was looking sometimes. Sometimes I'm just staring off. And sometimes I'm off somewhere else. It has nothing to do with you, but you made it about you. And then I look at you very puzzled. But I'm just using that as an example because I think we do that with people. If you walk up to 2 people who are talking in hushed terms, and they stop talking when you get there, what do you think? You think they're talking about you. And you don't think it was complimentary or they wouldn't have shut up.
Because they were hushed.
And what if they weren't talking about you at all? What if you hadn't even entered in their radar, their range of thought? But whatever they were saying was private and privileged, and they didn't want to include you in it. And don't take it personally. That's not for you. So you just say, okay, it's not for me. You let it go. But isn't it interesting how we project our attitudes onto other people and things like that? And so just think about how that can improve our lives if we can just not take it personally. Because you don't know. And if you're in doubt, ask. Thich Nhat Hanh said, at any moment you have a choice that either leads you closer to your spirit or further away from it. Each moment you have a thought that can take you closer to your true spirit or away from it. So it's all about choice. Which do you really want to go to? Where do you really want to go? There was a story I read online, and it's about 3 travelers going to the river. And the river is after a heavy rain like we had a couple days ago, and it's torrential waves and moving up and down, and they want to cross the river. And so the one says, God, give me the strength in my arms and my body that I can cross the river. And he dives into the river and he swims across. But the other travelers notice that he almost drowns a couple times because the waves and his arms, and he makes it, but it's a struggle. So the second one says, God, grant me the tools to cross the river. And he's provided a rowboat and oars. And so he's rowing himself across the river, gets across to the other side. The third traveler watches all of this and says, God, grant me the wisdom and the changes in me that allow me to cross the river safely. Poof, he's changed into a woman. And she walks up the bank and crosses the footbridge. It is about choice and how you see the opportunity. So you can swim, you can row, or use wisdom and go and crawl across the footbridge. It's all up to you. It's all about you, you know. So it's called Relax into the Flow. Paul Brunson said, with every situation which life can offer is turned to the profit of spiritual growth, no situation can really be a bad one. So you see how that story plays into all of that? No situation can really be a bad one. It's all on how you see it. And while I use that to be a little bit humorous, there's a principle there. There's a principle there when you give up your attachment to how it should be, that you can then be transformed into seeing through God's eyes. That reminded me of another quick story. You know why the Buddha cannot clean his sofa? He has no attachments. I'm sorry. I have too much time on the internet. So, it's all about giving up our attachments. Give up your attachments. Look at things differently. Look at things through God's eyes. And we're talking about, how you cling to different ideas now. So one of the reflections is, what are you allowing life to push you off center? What in your life pushes you off center from spirit? And when you look at it, look at what is behind that. What is it that's asking you to bring a light and awareness to that? What is asking you to rise up and look at it differently? Because when you look at it differently, then you can make the change. Then you can stop being off center. And what if you allow yourself to look at everything that's going on around you the long lines or the cars or the traffic, or maybe they don't have what you want to buy at the moment they want it. What if you just allowed that to be a divine moment, divine right action and play, and say, you know, that's not for me, or this is the universe and it's okay. It is just what it is. And just go with this flow without being all upset with it. Being upset is what I call my inner 14-year-old. My inner 14-year-old wants everything right then and there the way they want it. He wants it, because I'll make it all about me. You know, and sometimes that's a 14-year-old really makes a lot of noise. My 14-year-old son, when I was raising him, it was so interesting to watch because he both wanted to be assertive and do his own way and do his own things, and at the same time he wanted the safety net of the family and wanted to know that there was a place to go. And so there's this stretch that goes back and forth. That's what we do as adults. That's the same stretch we're doing. Our spiritual maturity comes with the stretch our soul is asking us to do and go, to be this trust and awareness of the divine is within us. We all have it within us. We have to stretch. We have to move into those spaces where we haven't been before. And trust that there's a safety net for us. It's all okay. God is love. Spirit sees you as infinitely precious and worthy. How do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as precious and worthy? And if not, why not? If you are truly one with God and God is perfect, then so are you. You are this beautiful, beautiful creature. There is love abounds in this world. You deserve it. You deserve all the love that you can call up for you. And since we believe in a reciprocal universe, we know that when you give out love, you get love back. And then you give it out some more and give it back some more. It's just beautiful to see in action. You know, when I love watching little kids who are in joy around these holidays right now, because I remember they have no limitations. They're just love and joy. And they're all over the place. They're doing their own little dance. You too can be that way. There's no reason that you cannot. The only reason that you cannot is what is in your own mind. It's that movie that they talked about earlier, the movie Critic. I don't know about your critic, because sometimes my critic sits up here on this shoulder. I don't know why. But every once in a while I smack it and say, you know, it's okay, I don't need you right now. Because sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it's a thing that lets me rewrite an email before I hit send. Because once you hit send, it's just like a word out of your mouth. You cannot get it back. And by then, it's hard for the other person to not take it personally on the other side. Because sometimes they do. And sometimes that is the way you meant it. And that's the way it is. But when you want to spread love, when you're about love, then you want to see through God's eyes. Maybe you want to see it differently. Maybe you want to see more forgiveness. Maybe you want to see more compassion. Maybe you want to see more understanding. Because when you give yourself all of those things, you're available to give all that to everybody else. When you stop beating yourself up that you should do something differently, you allow yourself to be that free spirit. You allow others to. When you allow yourself to make mistakes and it's okay, it's just another experience. Thomas Edison made 4,000 of them before he created the light bulb. You can make 4,000 in your life. It's all about perfection of making the light, seeing the light, doing that. And when you do that, you allow the other person. You know that saying, the namaste, it's a greeting that says, the God in me sees the God in you. The God in me greets the God in you. So how many times this season can we say namaste and mean, I truly see the God in you through God's eyes. Thank you.